Sometimes life can take twists and turns that are unexpected. Sometimes you try and fight, but it takes you like a tornado, like a cyclone. You have no strength to fight it, no emotional power, no physical resistance. You just go. If you would have asked me a week ago whether or not I would be going where I'm going right now, I would have thought you were crazy, a madman. But here I am. In 2 minutes, I will be eating dinner with my ex-husband, Saul Hernandez. Yes, that Saul Hernandez. That's the man that ripped my heart right out of my chest and crushed it, and then stepped all over it. And then I forgave him, and he destroyed whatever was left. I don't know why I'm going to meet him, but somehow my feet are moving in his direction, and my heart is screaming no, but my feet are moving. After years of being a soap star, Graciela Reyes, I was the doll of the TV industry, but lately, I haven't been able to get a job. I've been up nights worrying, lost, waiting for my agent to call, but days go by, weeks, nothing. I feel myself get older as every day passes, and as I get older, I feel my chances of a comeback dying. My dream is dying, and it hurts more than I ever imagined it could. Maybe that's why I'm here. I'm looking for answers. Looking to my past for answers about my future. Maybe. Saul. It's been forever. As I looked into his eyes, I felt relief. Such relief that I could still be near him and not try and physically hurt him.
Seeing you.
But also relief that I didn't have a longing for him.
Listen.
A need.
Let's just,
It seemed as if somehow I was
let's not be negative.
over him, or I had healed a little.
Let's just focus on the positive.
And that was a surprise to me. All of these months and months, I thought about what I would do, what I would say, how I would act if I ever ran into him. And to be honest,
Just be grateful for that.
I just feel numb. I feel nothing.
That's you.
In some ways, I think it's a sign of maturity, of how far I've come as a person, as a woman.
Beautiful.
Hello, folks. My name is Maria, and I'll be serving you guys tonight. Can I start you guys off with a cocktail? Anything to drink?
Yeah.
Well, actually, we'll both have sangrias. Yeah.
Coming right up. And I'll be right back to tell you guys about the specials.
Thank you. She's nice.
You always did that. You always ordered for me, even after I told you time after time that I don't like it. I'm not trying to argue. I'm trying to understand why.
Really?
Really.
You don't know.
No.
It's because of the kind of woman you are. See, the kind of woman you are, you don't know what you want. You think you know what you want. But then when I order for you, you get this sly smile on your face. I see this glint in your eye. You, on the exterior, you act like you don't want me to order for you. But on the inside, you love it. See, you need an assertive man like me to help you make decisions sometimes. You need a strong, assertive man. I've always been that assertive man for you, right?
Saul.
What did I say?
Saul.
Can we just, let's keep this a friendly dinner, okay? Let's not,
It is.
Saul, let's not go back into the past, because if we go back into the past, then this becomes a dark place. And this becomes a terrible night. And I'm happy to see you. Let's leave the past in the past, okay?
Were you gonna order the sangria?
I guess we will never know, will we?
Fair enough.
Are you guys ready to order?
Yeah.
Yeah, the lady will be ordering our meals tonight.
This man, he knew how to push my buttons. But the reason there was a button to push was because he was right. He knew what I liked. He knew what I wanted. He knew everything about me. Things that no one else knew. Things I would never dare tell another soul. Not my mother, my father, my brothers, not my closest friends. He knew every inch of me, and I hated him for it. Even worse, I hated myself for letting him that close.
I know
Close enough to
exactly.
break me.
Okay, you're the guy I saw win a hot dog eating contest 3 years in a row. I mean, you were proud of that. They had a chant. You know, they framed the medals. You're like the most unhealthy person I've ever met.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What is this? I don't.
Some things had to change. Change is good, but in this case, I was forced to change.
Please enlighten me.
I start to get the feeling that I do not want to be here. I want to run for the exits. I'm not hungry anymore, but I probably will need at least 2 more drinks to get through this. I may not understand why he called me here, but I'm here looking for answers.
My heart is broken.
Join the club, Saul.
No, I mean my physical, my actual heart. I had a bypass, 2 clogged arteries. I didn't know if I was gonna make it. So I had to change some things. I changed my diet. You know, when you don't know if you're gonna make it, you start to look at things a little differently in life. When you see the end could be near. And then you make it, and you realize, man, like, what have I been focusing on? And I realized throughout life, I've just been focusing on myself.
But you were always so good at focusing on yourself.
Hey,
I'm sorry, that was just easy. That was like laying right there.
I'm gonna stay in the moment.
Yes, we are. Just staying in the moment. I'm sorry.
So, what I decided to do was to take this opportunity as a sign from God up above. I had to pump the brakes, you know, on some of the things that I was doing, and you know, I lived a life that could be just envied by most people. I was a professional baseball player, RBI king, 2 World Series rings, single season record for the most RBIs in a season. I had cars, I had money, I had mansions.
Several gorgeous girlfriends, as I recall, too.
A couple of girlfriends. But what I didn't have was joy. I didn't have peace. You know, I worked all my life since I was 6 years old to achieve my goal of being a professional baseball player. That's all I thought about. Like breathed it. I lived it. I tasted it. When I finally got there, when I finally saw those lights, I looked up into the clouds and I had thousands and thousands of people screaming my name. It didn't matter. It wasn't enough, and I asked myself, is this it? Is this all I'm working for? And I remember playing in my backyard back in Puerto Rico. I used to wear my cousin's shoes.
Right, they're too big.
They were too big, way too big. And I just wanted to play. The other kids, they would make fun of me. And my grandmother, I don't know, she would say, well, you know, why am I worried? You know, I'll grow into them and don't rush time. And I would think, why is she saying don't rush time? And these kids are making fun of me because of my shoes, and I want to grow so that I can play. But you know, she was absolutely right. You cannot rush time. I used to walk around and envision how things could be. I could hear the crowd screaming my name, Saul, Saul, Saul. And I would pretend that I just hit the home run. Game 7, bottom of the ninth, World Series. And I would do it over and over and over. And do you know, in 2007, Game 7, bottom of the ninth,
Bottom of the ninth.
World Series, I was at home plate, and I knew that I was gonna hit the game-winning home run. I knew it because I saw it all those years ago in Puerto Rico. You know, it was in that moment that I realized that what I saw, what I focused on, was going to become my reality. I created it all out of my imaginations. I knew it was gonna happen because I saw it all those years ago back when I was in Puerto Rico. I knew that I was creating the world I was living in for myself. But I wasn't living it the way I was supposed to. After that moment, the reality that I created, it was changed. It was for my own pleasure. Even my eating pleasure. You know, I gained 20 pounds after that game. You know, after the World Series, I felt like, what else is there for me to do? I had already achieved my goal. And the sad thing about achieving a lifelong goal is that sometimes you realize that wasn't even your goal, you know? Or maybe better yet, it was my goal, but it wasn't God's goal for me.
Who are you? I mean, I feel like I feel like I don't even know you.
That man that did all those terrible things to you. Better say that man that said those terrible things to you. That would come home drunk night after night. That man that would put his hands on you. The one that slept with your best friend. That man is long gone. He is not here anymore. That man is gone.
You always knew exactly what to say. Always the exact right moment to say it too. Oh. You know, you're a good baseball player, but I think you missed your calling. Should have been a politician. And to run the world. That's all. I I don't think you realize how badly you hurt me. Saul, I'm not here for an apology. I'm not. I'm just... You hurt me worse than a person can hurt a person. I gave you everything. I was loyal. I cared for you. I loved you. I gave you my all. I took you back. Every time. I took your fist to my face. And then I made you dinner. I put my own career on hold to make sure that you were okay. That you were taken care of, going from city to city with God knows who, night after night. I did all of that, Saul, because I loved you with everything that I had. It was the only way I knew. You know, the only thing that ever scared me about us, the only thing is I remembered my dad used to say, deep love easily turns to hate.
Marissa, don't hate me. Please don't hate me. Listen. This man you see in front of you now, this is a different man. I am an innocent man. Don't hate me.
I think I'm gonna need like a whole jug of this or something. God, I said I wasn't gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this. Tell me about this change. I want to know. I do. You know, if there's one thing I've learned, it's that we're more than the mistakes that we've made. Please.
You're right. We're gonna need a bottle. There's more where that came from. I think life has a way of teaching you certain lessons. Sometimes it hurts, but sometimes you learn. Life taught me some serious lessons that I definitely had to learn the hard way. So much I didn't know about love. All I know was using people for my own advantage. And the advantage I received was only temporary. It didn't last. I had to go through things to wake up from this dream, because all these things that I thought I believed in, they were a lie. These things we learned from the media that are important to us. It's not real. You know, this is the first time in my life that I can actually say that I feel anything. Can you imagine that? A person who's had as much success as I've had, was one of the best athletes in the world. All the riches in the world, all the things and the cars and the women. And this is the first time in my life that I can say I've ever really felt anything.
Saul, I know I'm your ex-wife, but even I don't want to hear that you didn't feel anything on our wedding day. Our whole life. No. Oh, God, I'm sorry. I'm not. We're not going to do that. I am happy that you're feeling things. Jamie told me you were different. He didn't tell me how, but he said you were different. And that's why I'm here, you know? So I'm glad that you are, because things haven't been so great for me, actually. I know you know I can't get a job.
What?
I'm trying, obviously. You know, I get offers. Offers. It's nothing even worth doing, honestly. A lot of nudity offers. But, you know, won't compromise my principles. You know, this one director actually he gave me the opportunity to stay in this lovely villa. Beautiful, actually. But our business meeting turned into a hug. It turned into a rub. That turned into him grabbing my waist and running his hand down my thigh and then just shouting at me that if I didn't sleep with him right then, I would never work in this business again. For a second, I wondered if he was right. But then, of course, I remembered that, you know, I'd rather be poor, broke, without a job than compromise my principles, so. But now when I'm sitting at home alone, that doesn't mean I don't wonder. You know, could I have? I don't know. But I do have a little, like, secret confidence knowing that I didn't compromise, you know? Like a test I passed or something.
Well, he was barking up the wrong tree. You not only have a high moral compass, you are a moral compass. You guide me. You always have. Did you know that?
No, that is honestly the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
That's a damn shame.
Oh,
It's one of my favorites. Enjoy. And let me know if you need anything else, okay?
thank you so much.
For some reason, I couldn't tell exactly why, but I started to feel a sense of normalcy, a little bit of comfort even. Maybe it was the familiar setting or the familiar face. Or maybe it was just how smart he was, how skilled he was at playing the instrument that was me. My emotions, my feelings. Either way, my guard was coming down.
I was just letting
With each look into his eyes,
monologue in her mind.
just a little bit.
Well, the truth is the truth.
Yeah, I do. I just, you know, I wish my truth wasn't so rough lately. You know, like, I'll go to the mall or a store and, you know, people still recognize me and ask for my autograph. I feel like a fraud. I'm not a star anymore, you know? If they could see behind the curtain, you know, if they could see past the things I've done in the past, then they would just see me sitting on my couch alone, staring at the phone, praying for it to ring and praying that when it rings, it's my agent. But it never is. You know, just. The truth is, I feel like a fake. I feel like a fraud. You know, that's my truth.
You know, I hate to hear you say things like that about yourself. As hard as you work throughout your life. See, God didn't just create mountains. He created peaks and he created valleys. And sometimes we're gonna be in those valleys, but we can't stay there. It's not our purpose. So what you do, you who've spent your entire career working so hard, when you find yourself in the valley, is you climb. You don't sit there. You don't wallow. You're too great for that. Vanessa, you climb.
Who are you? I think you're an amateur philosopher now, too. Thank you. Okay, so tell me, what's been going on with you the last year?
I don't know. I mean, after I left the team, I decided it was time to leave. I mean, I could feel the game wearing down on my body. I felt like when I swung the bat, I could feel my bones cracking. You know, these kids, they show up at camp year after year, they're just getting younger, faster. I don't want to be that, like, aging player that didn't know how to let the game go. You know? I mean, I woke up and realized that, I mean, my mind was still willing, but maybe my body's had enough. So, I decided, you know, maybe I would hop on a plane and get back to Puerto Rico. I stood on the same field that I stood on as a kid, you know, when I saw it all happen in my mind. And I started to feel led. You know how that is? Like, when you feel led. I mean, it's not just a hunch. I mean, I really felt like someone I felt like someone or something inside of me was showing me that I needed to do something else. And so what I decided to do was help kids just like the kid I was when I was growing up there all those years ago. And believe it or not, I started coaching Little League Baseball.
With kids? But you hate kids.
Don't say that. I do not hate kids. Don't say that.
Okay.
Kids are like magic, man. These kids are the reason I'm sitting here today. Okay, so what I learned about kids is that they can teach you so much about life if you just stop and listen, because like they get it. They're not like tainted by the world yet. They haven't learned a lot about life. They haven't learned about all the lying and the horrors and the negative outlooks that we pick up on when we grow up. They live in the moment. They laugh when it's time to laugh. They play when it's time to play. They cry when it's time to cry. But then they move on. They don't look back. That's the lesson you learn.
It is a great lesson.
It is a great lesson.
So you coached the team?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. No, we had a amazing season. There was this There was this one small kid named Pedro. He was like, he was a little bit overweight, but he was more determined than any other kid I've seen, you know? He wanted to make sure he made it on the team, and he did well. And after practice, he would run, like another 20 minutes after, and he would sit there, take batting practice for another 30 minutes after. And he would say, "Coach, I think I'm getting it." I didn't know if he was getting it. You know, but he was hungry. I mean, not for food, because he wanted to keep his weight down. But he was hungry, you know, for the game. He was determined. Some of the other kids, they would laugh at him, and he would say, you know, "You can laugh now, but you wait. You won't be laughing for long." And I guess he was a Babe Ruth fan somewhere, because he would take his bat and he would point it out in the field, and he'd say he was gonna hit it out to the bleachers. Determined. And then he would strike out. But he wouldn't stop doing it. He would go to the plate every time he got the bat. And you know the thing about it? Is he was looking out there. But he wasn't looking with these eyes. He was looking like in his mind's eye. He was looking at his internal eye. He was focused, you know? I don't know. I kind of took a liking to Pedro.
So the big question,
Yeah.
did he ever hit his home run?
What do you think?
Of course he did.
He hit 13 home runs for the season.
13.
13.
Saul, that's beautiful.
And, you know, Pedro's mother, she was, you know, she's an older woman, but she was very regal, you know. She was a very beautiful older woman. She was striking. I mean, she had to be over 50. She didn't have a wrinkle on her face. She was, I don't know.
Can you call her and ask her to send me some cream, or?
I think you're doing just fine. Anyway, she was a dark woman. She had these piercing eyes. Kind of like you. Hers were blue. I just remember them very vividly. It seemed like she could look through you, you know, peer into your soul, and I don't know, she looked odd, but you know, really majestic. And anyway, she would say to me, "Saul, you and Pedro were sent here for each other." And I kind of got a little offended at first, selfishly, because I'm thinking, like, sent for each other. I'm the one who came here to teach these kids, so like. But then I realized it wasn't so much what I was doing for him or doing for all these kids. It was what they were doing for me, what they had given me. And they had done just as much, if not more, for me than I had done for them. And it was so selfish of me to even think that I should deserve some pat on the back for helping a kid that needs me, like it's not my duty. And it made me wonder how selfish I might have been about other things in my life. About other times I should have given. I started to feel really depressed and really lonely because, like, what kind of destruction do you lay in your tracks when you're that kind of person? And I would think about you. Sometimes I would sit up at night and I could see you. Sometimes I could see your face. And you were asking, You were pleading with me. Saul, please do things the right way. Saul, don't lie to me. Saul, don't cheat on me. And I realized it wasn't you just asking, being selfish like I was. You were being led. You were sent to change my life, but I was resistant to it at the time. And I'm grateful that that young boy could finally inspire me. Are you okay?
It's just very moving. It's very moving. So what? How long were you there?
I started to get restless in Puerto Rico. I mean, the summers were treacherous, and it was just, the heat was unbearable, and you know, New York was a lot cooler in the summer for the most part, so I decided to do something else. So I heard about this small tribe in Africa, Uganda, actually. Their specialty was making coffee. It was this special kind of coffee. It was hand-picked beans, and it was just a small tribe in a small village, and they were a very, very spiritual tribe. And they believed in these special prayers that they would pray over the beans that they were handing to people to like heal them. And many people in Uganda, they really swore by these coffee beans. So I thought, maybe I'd go out there and try to access some of this healing because I've been feeling so broken.
You went to Africa. You went to Africa?
I went to Africa.
Wow.
We went to Uganda. And I met with the tribal leader. Yeah. Uru, he just told me about life, you know? How life has so many twists and turns. And I should do things differently. And it wasn't easy. It was hard at first. There was this one small teenager that he really helped out a lot. He'd been to school in Wales, so he was able to help translate. And I don't know, we actually became pretty close. Kid's name was kid can learn a whole language. I can't remember his name. Anyway, I'll think of it later. He was a great kid, though. You know, he would just sit with us and talk for hours and hours about different things. We talked about the moon, stars, like why we were here, you know, the galaxy, God's plan for us. Like, it's like its insights. They were just amazing. I'm like, this kid is like, he's like a modern day Aristotle. You know, his philosophies, his teachings in life, the way he prayed every night, we prayed every night. I would go out to the fields with them and pick up the beans, and then plant more beans. And we'd sing together. And you know I don't sing. We would sing together, and we would pray together. We laughed. We cried. We danced. And it was amazing. Some nights we would just lay underneath the stars. We wouldn't say a word. We would just be, you know? We would just exist. And, you know, every now and then, after hours of just laying there looking at the stars, someone would begin to sing a song. And everyone would join in, and we would hold hands and sing for the longest. And we would all just sleep out there along the mountainside and just just enjoy each other, enjoy life. And that was the first time in my entire life I really felt what it's like to just be alive. And I realized that I had feelings. I mean, I knew I had feelings, but I had feelings like this. I started feeling in color. And I thought to myself, all these experiences I've had in my life, I haven't experienced anything on this level because I've never allowed myself to feel. I never allowed myself to feel or to think outside of like my physical body and my physical needs for pleasure, my selfish needs for pleasure. And this was the first time I was a part of something that was real and that wasn't about my talent. It wasn't about how much money I had. And I don't know. It was just beautiful.
It sounds incredible. I mean, totally surreal and really incredible. So how long were you in Uganda?
I stayed out there about 4 months. Finally, I just felt it in my spirit that it was time for me to move on. Yeah. You know, this teenager, can't remember his name. Anyway, he was going off to study in Brazil. And he mentioned that he'd heard of a small baseball league out there that was looking for a coach. And I thought, you know, I'm competitive.
Just a
Right?
little.
I'm a little competitive,
Yeah.
so. I was competitive as a pro player, but I actually loved coaching these kids even more. You know, to watch them grow, like, watch them grow as people and watch them grow as players. But, small snafu, I didn't know Portuguese. And so, I guess that was kind of a problem.
Just a little, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit, so. I took the time. It took about 4 months. All the time, all 4 months. And I taught myself Portuguese.
I'm sorry, hold on. You learned something.
First of all, that's an insult. Secondly, yes,
I'm
yes,
just saying, I don't know if I
taught
believe
myself
you.
Portuguese about the program. You know, the
The
program,
DVDs,
yeah, where you can, yeah. And I taught it to myself. It took a while, and I stayed with it every day, 5 hours a day, till I pretty much had it down packed enough to hold a decent conversation. I just wanted to be able to interact with the other people in Portuguese, in their language. Next thing I know, I'm on a plane for Brazil.
I mean, more than anything else that you have said tonight, I'm impressed. The determination.
I told you I was led.
The more he talked, the more I could feel myself opening up to him. Not totally, but enough that it scared me and I was trying to fight it. I tried telling myself not to listen because it's just another lie. It's just another game. The problem was, I really wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe him so badly that I was at war within myself. My brain and my common sense told me to get up from that table right now and just run and not look back. But my heart never had much common sense. And it wanted to stay, sitting in that chair, listening intently to what he had to say, even though every word cut like a knife.
You went to Brazil.
Yeah. And I remember this ridiculously long flight. It was about 13 hours. All I could think about was this kid, Pedro. I could see his little beady eyes, you know, round little face pointing out into the stands, and he was my inspiration.
Wow.
I just remember feeling a rush, like this intense excitement inside of me. You know, like I just I couldn't wait to be there. It's hard for me to explain. It's just, I don't know, it was all over my body. Like I wanted to jump out of the plane. And it just confirmed to me that I was doing the right thing. That flight to Brazil was like the longest flight of my life. You know, I thought about my childhood. I thought about my mother and how she struggled to feed me every day. And how I don't know, I felt a tremendous sense of gratitude within me, and all of a sudden, it was just peaceful. And I hate to say it again, but I felt led.
Yeah, but don't just say led. I mean, it sounds to me like you made some really good, right choices and decisions. And, you know, maybe something or someone left you breadcrumbs, but you followed them. So you should be proud of that too. But I know what you're talking about. I have been in that. It's almost like a zone, right? When you're doing exactly what you were meant to do. There's no time. You know, hours can go by and it doesn't matter because I guess it's love that doesn't have any time limits, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the same thing I was feeling. And as soon as I got off the plane, I was met by Jorge, who, he was this guy that set out to meet us in Brazil because I'd never been there before. He took us throughout Rio, everywhere, all throughout the beaches, Ipanema, the city, Favelas. I rented a room from his grandmother for $40 a night, and it was in the favela, deep in the mountains. Jorge told me that it was a terrible, terrible place to live, and people were being killed constantly. Drug dealers were judge and jury. The police never even came through. Women raped, robbings. It was a little hell on earth, but of course there was something that the government did called pacification. And they would go in there with these armed military-style police. They would basically disarm the entire favela. And that's why they called it pacification. And it got so bad that they decided to put an end to it, but they had only pacified a very small amount of these places. It was a tough story. Anyway, I was lucky enough to be in that one that had already been pacified, and Jorge he was a really short guy, about 5'2". And he had this big, like this booming voice that he used, and I don't know, man. You could stop traffic with with that voice, but I don't know. He was a good dude. I think he should be narrating movies. He took me over to his grandmother's house, and it was neat, but it was more of a shack than a house. And you could see the water dripping off the tin roof, and it was a mess. It was clean and it was neat, and I was grateful to be there. But his grandmother, Georgina, she was a lot taller than he was. She was about 5'9", so he's got to look up to his grandmother. She was another very, very striking woman, you know, for her age. She was a model back in her day, which I believe was before people used to say things like back in the day, because it was probably before the day. She was
For the day.
But I believed her, you know. She was a really good cook too. She made dinner for me every single night. We didn't speak too much, and I think it was because my Portuguese was, again, I taught myself.
I'm impressed.
Anyway, so I was a little shy about like my level of Portuguese, but I understood most of what she said. And she told me that Jorge had gone through a really terrible terrible situation when the favela was pacified. He had a 5-year-old son. And he happened to be outside playing when the military police were shooting, chasing some drug dealers. He didn't make it. And it tore his marriage apart. He and his wife divorced. He ended up driving cabs for a living and moving back in with her, but she said he was never the same after that bullet hit that boy. I don't see how anybody could be. Anyway, it was a terrible casualty in this whole pacification thing, and she did say that it wasn't the only one. Their family wasn't the only family to be victims of this. There were a lot of civilian casualties. But politically, for Brazil, the stakes were way too high and something had to be done. And yes, innocent people got hurt. And while this happened, it was no different than a child in Iraq who was living close to a military strike target who gets hit with a piece of shrapnel. This is the world that we live in. This is the world that we live in. Anyway, you guys like to go with the bad, right? I don't really know the name of it. It was quite possibly the best thing I've ever tasted.
So how long did you stay in Brazil?
I stayed the entire summer for baseball season.
You were in a $40 a night favela for what? Okay, no, that was not the important question. The important question is, how was your team?
Okay, they were dreadful. They were terrible. They were really,
Oh no.
they were a really bad team.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I traveled all the way there, but none of them could hit a ball, none of them could catch a ball, nobody could pitch, they could field. I don't understand like what they were doing before I got there. It was like they'd never seen baseball before. I don't know who was teaching them, but they were absolutely the worst baseball players I've ever seen in my life. I've seen 3-year-olds play. I would have bet on the 3-year-olds. It was really bad.
And you relocated to teach them. I mean,
But I had a great team. I mean, they were dedicated, you know. What I told them is, dedicate yourself. Dedicate yourself, practice, try, and your physical skills will develop. And with all that, practice, more practice. Allen Iverson, practice, practice. We're talking about practice. They went after it. There was this kid named Santos. He was about 8. He also lived in the favela, not too far from where I was staying. So maybe his place was about $40 a night too. His older brother was a drug dealer, and he was shot in the head, not too far from the tourist areas, about a mile from the beach. Drug deal gone bad, and now this kid, he was an only child. His father had gone to prison, so, you know, he was the man of the house. His mother reminded him of that every single day, and he took it seriously. Matter of fact, he bossed the team around like he thought he was the coach. But not only was he like the physical leader of the team, he was the spiritual leader of the team too. I found it so moving. I came walking to practice one day to see him praying with the other players, praying to get better, praying for their families to get good health. And I thought to myself, if I ever was blessed enough to have a child, I would do everything I could to teach him to be like Santos. I would only pray that he could be like Santos. I don't know where he got that strength from to conquer so much adversity, but it was there.
He sounds like a fantastic kid.
He was. Oh, he was a great kid. He was absolutely amazing. He introduced me to his. I ended up spending a lot of time with them. Many nights, reading the Bible, praying, listening to gospel music. I got a lot closer to God during this time. Santos began to look up to me. You know, almost like a father. And I feel worthy of it. I felt completely unworthy of it because of all the terrible things that I knew I'd done. Of the way that I dismantled my own life. I kind of felt a little bit like a fraud. I mean, who was I for this kid to be looking up to me like I'm some type of example, some type of father figure, some kind of leader? He was more of a leader than I was. I was just some washed up former pro ball player who was now coaching Little League in a foreign country. His mom wouldn't allow me to feel that way. She said to me that I was the head and not the tail. She said I should never look at myself with my own eyes or point any of my fingers at myself. She said I should see myself the way others see me, the way God sees me, as a beautiful thing that He created that is deserving of love. What she said to me really touched me. I started to remind myself of that every day.
She said you should never look at yourself with your own eyes. So, how was the team?
We were terrible.
Oh no.
Yeah, they were terrible.
Oh no.
You know, there was this one kid, Charlie. He had a really bad case of asthma. He usually had to sit out a couple of innings toward the end of the game. Doctor said he shouldn't be playing sports at all, so we were just glad to have him out there. This kid, he put his health on the line to play a sport. He refused to listen to these professionals who were telling him to sit out the game. He refused to believe what they had to say. Santos would always make sure that he was okay before he sent him out. At this point, Santos had become like a captain of the team, but no matter what, Charlie always did his best. And even if he had to sit out, he'd catch his breath and he would come back in. I noticed Charlie coming back in. And I started to think, like, is Charlie and the things that Charlie's doing, is it a metaphor for me, for my life? Or is this time for me to just sit down and catch my breath before I go back in? And I sat at the top of a mountain one summer night. I watched the sun go down. And just pondered about that for hours. I prayed, and I cried, and I prayed, and I cried. I racked my brain and I went through almost every decision I'd ever made up to that point in my life. I thought about what I'd do differently if I had another chance. And then it occurred to me, I do have another chance. This is a new day. I got up and I ran top speed all the way back to the favela, and Jorge's grandmother, she had just got up to water the flowers and feed the chickens. I forgot to tell you, she had these two chickens. Chico? No, Chicks and Gyro. Chicks and Gyro. Why those were their names, I don't know. And why I remember their names and not that teenager, I still don't know. But I don't know, man. I was determined. I couldn't stop when I got back. I was breathing hard, I was panting, I was sweating, and she asked me if I got mad. And I said, no, senora, it's time for me to go. Which probably means, yes, I had gone mad. She said, why are you leaving so soon? You can stay as long as you like, and I'm enjoying the rent. $40 goes a long way there. I smiled, and I told her, it's time for me to go back in. She looked at me, strangely, and she kind of nodded and moved on. The next day, I had my bags packed. My ticket was booked. I knew what I had to do. I walked outside, and Jorge was getting ready to bring me to the airport, and Colo, Santos, and all the kids were standing at the foot of the steps. And they all had gifts for me. Gifts for me, and some of them were crying. And I didn't understand until that moment how much I had touched them and their families with the simple gift of baseball. Something that I'd always thought was for me. Little Santos, this little guy, this little warrior with these huge hands. Like, I don't know how he found a glove to fit him. This kid with these man-sized hands, he was crying and he wrapped his hands around me. And this kid who was not mine told me that he loved me. He'd never forget me. I hugged him back. And I knew in my heart that this boy, even though he was not my biological son, this was my son. This was my spiritual son. And I realized everything that I had gone through, that had brought me to this moment, was why I was led here. It was to help these kids in this moment, to give them hope and change in their lives. And I lost it. Tears everywhere. I was crying like a little girl at the end of a movie. It was awful. But it was the one time in my life I felt really connected. I felt like I belonged. And I was deeply pained that it was time for me to leave.
I just never imagined you being able to give so much of yourself. It's just not the person that I knew.
Exactly. But listen, I've gone through a transformation. When I was on the plane coming home, and I kept seeing your face. I kept thinking about the things that you said to me and the things you had gone through. I thought about all the pain that I put you through. And I knew that I had to make things right. Because I was out there looking for something. I was searching for something, but I was overlooking what God had already said to me. Does this make any sense to you?
Yes, it does.
And that was a terrible, terrible mistake.
So how long have you been back in the States?
I've been back a little over a month now. You know, it took me that long to gather up the strength to reach out to you. You know, I didn't know if you tried to stab me when you saw me or if you would hug me. I don't.
It's funny because it's true. I thought about it. I'm too old to go to jail, so.
Seems like you guys haven't touched your food. Can I get you guys a box, or are you still working on it?
Yeah,
Or are you still working?
a box would be great. I have to
Yeah,
get going.
you can box mine up as well.
And can I get you guys anything else to drink or anything?
No, I'm great, thank you.
Okay.
I'll take the check as well.
Oh, okay.
It's been really great catching up with you and just hearing all the wonderful things that are happening.
I really appreciate you coming.
So, where are you off to next? What exotic location?
I'm not sure. I'll just have to see where the wind takes me. You know, I got an offer to coach a little league team right here, so we'll see what happens.
Here.
Yeah.
It's great.
No rush, guys, okay? Whenever you're ready.
Take care.
Well, I'm gonna get going.
I'll take care of this.
Thank you.
You know, it was really great seeing you.
Yeah. It was thank you. It was good to see you too. And Saul, I hope you really have changed. Because if you have, then miracles are real.
They are.
Bye, Saul.
Hey, I don't, I don't want to get, your phone number or ask where you're living or anything. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. I know this is very, very new, and we have a very, very long way to go. But I want you to just check the time. Look at the time.
It's 8:32.
8:32. Okay. I want to talk to you again. I want to share more with you. And I know we have to take it very, very slow. But I want to open myself up to you. I want to show you what I have inside of me. I want to meet you out by the harbor. And no offense, but you already told me you're not working right now. So there's no excuses if you don't show up.
So
It's just because I know. No, don't say anything to me right now. Just don't respond. But if you are willing to show up, it just means that you're open. Just a little bit. And if not, I will accept the damage that guy, that old me, that he did was too much. But if you're there, what I said, I just want to open up to you. And I'm going to be sitting at the bench at 8:32, waiting for you.
Goodbye, Saul.
If this were a baseball game, the pitch that Saul just threw me would have been a curveball. I never expected him to be whoever that was. I mean, he was so in touch with his emotions and caring and enlightened. Could he have really changed, or was this just a brilliant new act I swear they've been giving the Oscars to the wrong actors for the last 10 years because he definitely should have won it. So many lies, so many charades, and so much nonsense. But there was still a piece of me that wanted to believe him. Why? Why did I want to believe him so badly? I guess deep down I always knew there was good in him. So much good. Just never had a chance to shine. He wouldn't allow it, but now, was he purified? Or could this just be a temporary lapse, like when Elvis Presley became a Christian singer? I don't know. I don't think I want to stick around to find out. No, I don't. I'm not. I'm just gonna go home and have a glass of wine, a hot shower, and move on with my life. It was the worst idea to look back. I tossed and turned all night long, trying to find a reason not to believe Saul. I searched my memories and I remembered every single terrible thing he had ever done to me in vivid detail. My fists were clenched, my lips were quivering, my whole body was shaking, my breath caught. My heart was filled with rage. But suddenly, a small door opened in my heart and compassion and love crept in. A small amount of love can overcome such a large amount of hate because love is so much stronger than hate. And I realized in that moment that I would always look at Saul with love. Of course, I didn't want to be stupid, but I wanted to know if this transformation had really taken place. Because if it had, it would mean that I too was part of one of the most incredible things in history for this cold, calculating, mean man to find the good within him and let it shine, to let the light out. It just seemed too good to be true. So I've been telling myself, Marisa, what are you doing? Don't believe him, keep your guard up. But I've always been the type that needed to learn things, try things, see things for myself. To my own detriment a lot of times, but it's just who I am. And I needed to see with my own eyes if this new Saul was really a new man. So once again, my heart was pulling me, and my feet were forced to take me where I wasn't sure I even wanted to go. As I walked along, I realized I was actually going back to a place that I had already almost healed from. Would I be reopening this wound? Or was this just a part of the healing? I had to see for myself. This could either be the most courageous thing I had ever done in my life, or the most foolish.